All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our virtual gallery talk. I'm Brianne Rosner, the gallery director at Peters Valley School of Craft. If you're not familiar, Peters Valley is a nonprofit craft school located in northwestern New Jersey, nestled in the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. The school offers immersive workshops in 10 different disciplines, has a youth art program, artist residencies, retail and exhibition galleries, and an annual craft fair. You can learn more about our programs at petersvalley.org. Today, I have the pleasure to present the amazing Beatrice Coron. For the past 20 years, she has explored visual storytelling through paper cuts, artist books, and public art. Beatrice has an extensive resume, and her work has been purchased by major collections such as the Metropolitan Museum, the Walker Art Center, and the Getty. Her public art can be seen in subways, airports, and sports facilities, among others. I'll let Beatrice tell you more about her life story and how it has influenced her work. The images and video that you're seeing are from the installation of her exhibition at Peters Valley, titled Cut Stories to Read. You'll see the large wall hanging she finally cuts in black Tyvek with an x-acto, and artist books that are a more intimate exploration of narrative. Among them are image text collaborations with several writers, and I love how the works presented are so playful, both in their allegorical depictions and the way the installation presents the work with the light and shadows. So enjoy viewing, and without further ado, here's Beatrice.
Thank you. So I'm not going to go over all my life because it could be long, and but I'm going to run a little what's in the exhibition, because in the exhibition, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, perfect. So I have different murals, and I have a set of murals that are underwater, and it was all because I saw presentation about plankton. And plankton is really the start of life on Earth. And there were this boat, Tara, who is going around the world to collect plankton to see how it's destructed basically right now. So I was really interested in that, and it was the same years that James Cameron went into the Mariana Trench. So I went into all those things like with so much expectation. So first with the microscope on the Tara, you could see so many details of plankton, and they really look like science fiction. They are amazing shapes. And then after, with James Cameron, I was a little disappointed because you couldn't see much. So I filled it up with all my imagination on all different things that could happen in the abysses. And then I made those whole panels of what James Cameron didn't see. So I have calamari that can open bottles, and I have shrimps with high heels, and I have all this kind of life bustling under the water. And after, I have a whole series also that are fashion warriors. So fashion warriors, they are life-size warriors, and they are all women, and it's a whole exploration of costume. And it's costume, how women present themselves in society and how they are taking more power. So all those fashion warriors, when I start them, I just go with different ideas that I merge together, but I'm never sure of how they are going to be out. So one of my latest one on the right, it's Save the Planet. And so each one has a text with a poet I often collaborate with. His name is Mick Stern. So I have to go closer to my screen to read. It's so the one with Greta is Save Your Planet, let's fix what's broken, other words are taken. So on her...
Beatrice?
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt, but everybody's saying that they can't see your screen.
Are you
trying to share it?
So let's get out of my presentation. Okay, so share screen. Okay, so that was that button. Is that better? Can you see it now?
Yes, that looks great.
Okay, so that was the plankton abysses. So you even see the little vessel with Jacques Cousteau inside and with a mermaid in a wheelchair and different things. That was the plankton that was James Cameron didn't see. And then after that was a fashion warrior. So on the right, you have Save the Planet. Other ones you have in the exhibition is a Jester, and it's unlock your emotions, feel them flow and go where they go. You have also Dominate Your Times. When you sit on a throne, you'll never be alone. So all the texts are from Mick Stern. And then after, I have a whole set of stories that are 45 by 45. And in fact, they are 45 by 45 because here I turn my camera, it's my roll of Tyvek behind me. So I make them by squares. And I have a lot of stories about the Middle Ages, and some are this one, Daily La Vie de Château. It's from a real castle in France, and I describe the whole story from ages to ages that happened around there. So I mix the past, the present, and the expectation of the people there. So it's a lot of mixed story together. And I put a little clues everywhere. I have some flags that are from Brittany and are from different families in Brittany. So you have to kind of look for some symbols or recognize some, and that's the game I play of hiding a lot of little things around. And on the left, you have a hunting scene. The hunting scene, it's from the Phoebus hunting book. So I take some images from Bruegel the Elder, or from the manuscript of the Kings of France. So I have a lot of references to other work. I have also a timepiece where I have skeletons, because as paper cutting, I cannot resist to cut skeletons. And it's a kind of meditation and vanity. And I always make them very lively. So they always move around. And this one is a web of time. So it's with a stop clock, but they don't know it. And here it was a commission from Stratford-upon-Avon, the Shakespeare Theatre, Shakespeare Theatre. So they were doing a show and an exhibition on Peter Pan, and it was Wendy and Peter Pan. So the way I approach any commission, it's unfold the stories in a lot of different vignettes. And as there is no really barrier in our imaginations, on the upper left, I have London, where he left from, but I also have Mary Poppins there, because if I think about London, flying, Peter Pan, I will think about Mary Poppins. And there is other reference to Shakespeare, and there is other reference to Peter Pan. So each vignette can be possible scenarios on the same story, how you unfold it. And I have some that are the collaboration with poem with Mick Stern. So we have two ways. I made a lot of artist books with his poems. So we have two ways to collaborate. Sometimes I illustrate his poem. Sometimes he illustrates my paper cutting with his poems. So this one, it's called Stream and Dreams, and he wrote the poem. And when I read the poem, I thought it was so great that I had to make the book as a flow. So it's devices are slowly deleting our dreams. This is how the world streams. All the team players want to change teams. This is how the world streams. People don't think, they just rush to extremes. Day after day, the world streams. Plug in your earphones, block out the screams. This is the day, the world streams. Doom is approaching, decipher the memes. Faster and faster, the world streams. We need solutions, but find only schemes. This is the way the world streams. So I made the whole poem as a flow. Other poem, like The Drifter, is an accordion you can place in different ways. And so for some poems, this one I made the illustration first. It's called Transformation. And in fact, I have a lot of ideas that I work with in series, and I stay with them, and they go from one medium to another. So the story about transformation, it was about reading books. So you're a bookworm, you read the book, and you transform in a cocoon in the library. And then after, you begin to have the wings of education, the wing of poetry, the wing that will take you everywhere in your mind. And then after, you try to catch an idea. So that was those thread of thoughts with that. But then after, I made children butterflies with the wings of education. So on the left, it's a series of prints I made in Phoenix. And then after, I'm sorry, I can't remember the printer studio we worked with. It will come back. And then on the right, it's public art that I did at Jumter Art School in Columbia Gorge in Washington State. So the idea transformed into different things where I had it in metal, I had it in print and paper cut. And some of the poems, like Evening Song by Joy Arjo. So I love the poem, and I just had it also as a flow. And I'm influenced by a lot of other cutting artists, a lot of other styles, so a lot of other things I have on my website. And I guess that's it for what there is in the show. I mean, I cannot show everything. I know you have the movie, which is good.
Yeah, we'll put that back on.
Okay, great.
And then we can take some questions. If anybody has questions, I know we had two come in earlier, so I can put them in the chat. And then if anybody else has a question, just so we're not talking over each other, you can just type it right into the chat there. So let's see, we've got two questions to start with. Can you read them, or would you like me to read them aloud?
Read them, because I even don't know where they are. Oh, okay. Yeah, the chat.
So Heather from Instagram said, how do you manage to toll repetitive motions like cutting, like cutting paper on the body? So how do you work so that you're not injuring yourself? And
I don't have any problem in working. So that's my studio, and that's my table. And I really, when I work, I'm really on my elbows, and I'm really on the work, and I just cut with my x-acto knife, like that. So I don't have, I have a problem sometimes in my shoulder when I cut, but when I cut like 10, 12 hours a day, if I just cut a few hours a day, I don't feel it. But otherwise, I will need to put pillows on my elbows because of the weight, because I'm really standing up and over my paper cut. But I don't have any problem with my wrist. And yeah, I'm fine.
I'm jealous because I have so many neck and shoulder problems in my studio. And
but do you work standing up?
No, I try to sit. I try to do
I only work standing up on my computer. You see my computer is over there. Everything, I have tables everywhere in my studio, and everything is about standing up.
That's smart.
Yeah, and I can adjust my height compared to the work by how I have my legs. So I can always move my body to be right in front. So I don't feel yeah.
Well, there's a woman, Missy Ballone, and she has a website called Wellness for Makers, and it has great tips on how to stretch out and good posture and things in the studio, and some equipment as well, little hand rollers and neck rollers for anybody that is having problems. So we'll give her a plug. So we have another question that came in on Instagram from Ellen. I love how striking the black paper looks. Do you always work with that color?
Yes. I mostly work with black Tyvek because it's like you have already all the image in front of you. You only remove little piece for other people see the image in the paper. So it's already there. It's the opposite of the blank page. I already have the drawing there. And I like it because it has a lot of contrast, but sometimes I make the books in white. I work a lot with, I'm interested in the line and making movements with fixed images. And I want really to work more the lines. So I sometimes put color, and I see you have, now I know how to read the things. So how to add color on your pieces. So in fact, I'll turn the camera because right now I'm working on an artist book, and it's about endangered birds. And so it's Arches paper, and it's plastic inside. So the plastic make the color. And it's in fact all birds that are endangered by people using plastics and by their environment. So I wanted to have this. It's a book we are making in collaboration with Paulette Rosen, and she's going to construct the box. And we also have a poem from Mick Stern on that. So that's a way to put the color. And sometimes I put the color also with, yeah, so the thing with this book, it was about how we like things that are bad for us, how we like you know, when you see the bird with all the color, it's like, oh, it's pretty. And in fact, it's what kills the birds. But that's the statement about that book. So what other paper do I use? Yeah, for other things, for other work, like there is some poster behind me. I make the paper cut, and then I add the colors in Photoshop to be used as a print after. So sometimes I work with the colors in another way. But I see another question, if I ever paint, if I use other than Tyvek, and if I paint the paper. I paint, I mean, before I discovered there were rolls of black Tyvek, I was painting white Tyvek in black, and it was taking a lot of time, and there were, I was not happy with some of the look. And now I'm working with black Tyvek. And I work also with Arches paper cover for artist book because they really stand by themselves. Yeah, that's the papers I'm using.
So Ellen also asked, how did you arrive at using paper cutting for your art?
I use paper cutting because it's a fast way of telling the story. You can, and it's a very simple and it's very complex. I mean, right now I'm also in a show at New York Historical Society with big I have big murals about New York City. And so you have to really stay, and the whole show is on silhouette. It's a group show. And it's really interesting to see how different artists are working with silhouettes, but it's also very simple and very complicated to catch a line. And but to make, it's like you cut or you don't cut, you know, so it's pretty simple. You don't have a lot of steps. You just have an idea, you can oversketch. I mean, right now, I started a series, I have one behind me, of bugs and viruses. And so this one is Egyptian. But before I make them, I have really no idea what they will look like. I just know I want some Egyptian symbols, and I want sacred scarabs and eternal life and cycles and resilience, but I don't know how it will come out.
So Jen Fernandez asked, did you always work in this medium, or did you start out with others? Was there some kind of evolution to this?
I was always drawing. I like drawing. I like things that are simple because I want to keep the energy and the imagination free. So I don't want to have a complicated process to make the image. And I don't want to have an expensive material, because otherwise I would be afraid to start. So I want to keep the time free for researching, for thinking about the concept, about the shapes, but not so much about the technique. So I did like sketches, and then after I started with paper cutting directly, because I'm not good at painting, and it required too much material, and I'm not too good at cleaning my brushes, so it gets very expensive.
Well, I know that I'm a painter, but actually the painting I do is far less expensive than when I started getting into making jewelry. And that's expensive because you need so many tools and so much materials. And I mean, then if you get into gemstones and things like that.
Oh, yes.
It's so much. So we have another question from Bond. Such intricate work, amazing. I'd love to see oh, well, this isn't a question, but it's a compliment. I'd love to see an airbrushed background through the stencils, but I could look at these forever. So you kind of didn't you have that kind of look in some of those animated videos? Yeah. And people can go on your, if they look up your name on YouTube, they'll find those. I think that they're really fun, and they just take the paper cuts to another level, if you want to talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, it's, I have 2 videos on YouTube. Both were made by Geneva Film. And there is one of 3 minutes and one of 6 minutes. One is La Vie de Château, from the paper cut you have in the exhibition. And the other is Daily Battles. And they are 2 different ways they made the videos. One of them, it's like traveling on the paper cut, and each image is not moving. And the other one, it's really animated. But both of them, they put colors on the background. And when we do those cooperation, I'm coming up with symbols and all that, but Geneva Film, they come with the color, what the color communicate and what the soundtrack communicate. And it adds so much because there is so many other levels that they add to the paper cutting.
So I don't know if anybody else has questions that they want to type in here. We can also take some. I know people are watching live on Facebook. It's a little bit of a delay, but we can type them in. May asked if you are teaching at Peters Valley this summer, and I don't think you are, but you have taught before, so we'll have to have you back again.
Sure.
Alita asks, she says she works in monoprints and was hoping to take your class this summer at Penland. Is there any word on that class?
We don't know yet. Everybody is waiting for knowing when our life will get back to a normal schedule. So I guess everybody wants to, but we'll see if it's fine at that time or not. Nobody knows now.
We've got another question from Heather. Do you sketch prior to cutting? How do you transfer the image to the Tyvek? And do you cut on the front side or the back?
So what I do is I sketch on the like the white Tyvek. So my Tyvek is white one side and black the other. So I sketch, and I have to sketch with a very 8B, because otherwise it doesn't catch. So if it's for me, I do very loose lines. And then after I have a million lines, and I choose at the last minute where I'm going to cut. If it's for a commission, so I really highlight my lines with a marker to be sure that's what we're going to have at the end. And then after, I put the other levels of Tyvek on the other side, on the black side. So usually I cut with an addition of 4. So that means I have my drawing on the white part of the Tyvek, and I put 4 black Tyveks on the front under, and I cut through. So I cut through, I staple, so it doesn't move. And I cut through the whole stack. And once it's cut, because sometimes it moves and I'm not too sure where the lower levels are. And sometimes there are details, I'm not sure if it will read or if it's something I want. So once I have the basic paper cut, I take them out, each one, and I finish each of them. So sometimes I make different variation from one to the other. So it's kind of multiple originals rather than editions. Yeah, so I sketch on the front side and I cut directly through. So I don't want to have the step of transferring the sketch in another way.
Does anybody else have any questions? Now's your time.
Yeah, it's a lot of first time for everybody on doing those things. It's my second time on Zoom. It's like I have a hard time to know where to push the buttons.
Huh.
Yeah, I see this other question about laser or die cutting. Yes, I work with laser because I work with paper cutting, but I work also with cutting metal and cutting glass. So, yeah. So here it's heavy. But here is one of my metal samples that was for a subway station in New York. So it's this one is laser cut, but it can or water jet. Yes, it's water jet or laser cut, and it's 1/2-inch stainless steel. So
you do that in your own laboratory or your own?
no, there is no way. I live in Manhattan, so it's not a place to have a big machine.
Oh.
I even couldn't lift because the panel are sometimes 6 by 10 feet, so you need more than one person to lift all that. And so I work from doing the sketch in paper cutting. If it's public art, you have, usually it's a competition. So you're showing your idea, your concept, you do a paper sample. And then after, if they choose you, so then after I take a picture of my paper cut and I remake it from scratch on Illustrator. So then I have vectors, and the vectors, I can export them in DXF or DWG. So it's the file to be read by the CAD program for the architects and the fabricators. And that's how it's done. And you can see on my website on the public art. So I have cut glass, cut metal, things from concrete, and it's all done from the vectors. Yeah. What? How much longer? Oh yeah, the artwork at Peters Valley. I have no idea. For the show, you mean? On display? Yeah, it's a.
Yeah, I think they're asking how much longer it's on display, and
yeah,
it's only supposed to be up till tomorrow, but I'm not even sure when we'll take it down. We've been working remotely, and Peters Valley, unfortunately, like every other place, is currently closed to the public. So that is why we're trying to bring you as close to experiencing the show in person as we can, because we know that you can't see it in person, and we're very, very sorry that we can't provide that opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't see the show.
I know. Beatrice was traveling when the show opened, so we normally have an opening reception, and this time we were scheduling something a little more mid-show, and then we ended up changing that, and we were going to have a closing reception, and then that got changed. So yeah, she hasn't seen it in person.
But it's online, and I saw each piece.
Yeah, and we will put this up on YouTube if we can figure it out, and maybe also the video. We've got an album with still photos on Flickr, so you can go there. We've got links to all of that in the Facebook event and on our website as well. So definitely take some time to look through while you are at home wondering what to do with yourselves.
Yeah.
Hi, Beatrice. I have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that sounded like Susan.
Nope.
Susan? We've lost, I think we've lost her. Oh,
Okay.
you there?
I'm here. Hello. I'm wondering what the inspiration for the latest fashion warrior was. The Egyptian, the blood warrior.
Yeah.
Is that from your time living in Egypt? Or was it
Yes.
virus situation?
In fact, she's not a fashion warrior. She's a fashion bug. It's a new series. I really thought I finished the fashion warriors because I have 15 of them, and we have a text with it. And normally we are making an artist book with Carrie Cushman and in Longwood University. And then I was like, I'm finished with that. And since the last 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I had this urge to make this Egyptian. And I was thinking about the sacred scarab. And I was thinking about the insect, how they have their carapace and their exoskeleton to protect them and the soft organs inside. So I was really interested to work on that. And I lived in Egypt for 1 year. So in fact, I got back, I still have them because I'm going to make 6 of them. But you see my books right now, I have bugs and I have virus. I have all my atlas of ancient Egypt because I'm going back into all those different things. And my encyclopedia of fashion. So I'm really working those themes and what it means to be a bug. So it's a bug in the system, a virus, something that really starts small and get there. So the first one, I mean, it saves me a therapy, really. I don't really know what's getting out of it, but I had those wings. I made those wings. So I was like, oh, scarabs, but the wings are so ephemeral and the carapace is so strong. And it just bound together. And she's also a little mummified. And she has the symbol of eternal life. She has the ankh. She has the ankh here. And she has the scarabs. It's the dung beetle, that's the symbol of the sun that's rolling. And she has the earth's eye. So I don't know what it is, but it's a new series, and it permits to get things getting out of my head, and it's artwork.
Cool.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question? I see somebody's hand is raised, and I don't know if that's because they want to ask a question or if they just hit a button. Elizabeth's iPhone? Do you have a question? Maybe she's waiting. Okay. Are you there? Do you have a question? Or was Okay. So maybe that was by accident.
Yeah. So I was, yeah, maybe it would be interesting to try a paper cutting class online. Because I'm like, oh, it's my second time on Zoom, and I'm like, thank you, Brian, to organize all that, because it's really beyond me. But it could be really interesting to continue experimenting, because it's a lot of unknown. But there are things that can be communicated. In different ways.
I've seen that a couple artists are trying to do interactive classes. I don't know if they're doing it through Zoom or whatever else, but maybe I can find out and pass the information along, because everybody's got to change their models now that, classes that were scheduled at other venues have been canceled. So everybody's changing the way that they think about sharing information and making incomes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, somebody was interested to see more. I don't know if it's a really good lighting, but here she is. So on the side here, it was a kind of sketch I made because I was not too sure about the wing. So I did cut another one, and now I'm like, maybe it could be another layers. And maybe I'm going to experiment to have it also on the mannequin to make it 3D. So you never know. It's always, I played also with mask on top. Oh, and I have to show you my door because I did that sign recently. It's door to reality, enter at your own risk. That's what I see each time I leave the studio.
Anybody else have questions?
Yes, I was just saying thank you for showing us the show online. It looks fantastic. And I always love to visit Beatrice in her studio. So thank you both for this today.
Shelley. Hi, Shelley. How are you? You see, I tried to cut my hair.
Great.
I'll be back and cutting as soon as possible. But thank you for
Great.
showing the show today. It looks beautiful. Wish we could see it in person, but I always love visiting you in the studio. So thank you. This is great today.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if you can hear me.
And me.
Janice.
Oh, hi, you can hear. Yeah, this was really great. And it's so nice to see the whole show. I'm like, you do so much great work, and I love all the fashion warriors together.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's just phenomenal. I can't get over it. my mother was Sally Douglas Francisco. So that was my mom, whose gallery you're in.
Oh,
And it's pretty cool.
cool.
Very nice.
I think my sister's here too, or was. Susan.
I love that Bond is joining us from the West Coast, so he usually doesn't get to see the shows. So it is kind of amazing that having this kind of platform, we not only get to see the exhibition, but at the same time we're seeing into the studio, which is a rare treat. So it's really amazing to be able to get to see them both at the same time.
So let me ask, is this something you would have done if it hadn't been for the, the current, the virus and all of that stuff? So this is a real kind of, you can't put a silver lining on it really, but it's a great way to show off the gallery and the artist work.
Yeah, it's like evolution. It's forced, forced evolution on a short time.
Yeah, that's what I think is so amazing. You end up problem solving and doing things that you weren't doing before, that you say, now how can I, implement these kinds of programs when we actually get back to normal, and how do we continue to do some of these things?
Well, what is normal?
Normal's a setting on the washing machine.
That's a washing machine.
Okay, then.
My father read a book. It was called Normal is a Setting on the Washing Machine. He said it's a great book title, but a terrible book. Let's make our own version of normal from now on, which is nothing to be normal.
Oh, there is another question I see here about being productive. Yeah, I mean, I'm very productive, or I'm very, I don't know, obsessed is another word for it. So, yeah, all the pieces that are in the exhibition, it's a span over 10 years probably. I don't remember the dates of everything, but it was not all made in the same year. But I can be very obsessed, and I can really stay a long time in the studio. That's usually where I hide. It's inside the studio.
Well, keep hiding and keep creating these beautiful worlds that we get to peek into. Thank you.
Thank you.
And cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Another
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're really glad that you could tune in, and we will post this so that you can share it with everybody that didn't know what they were missing. So we will post the link.
Yeah, I saw some email passing on my screens that some people were trying to get the link and couldn't get the link.
Yeah, we'll get a link that you can share and everybody can share it. So
yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Because you recorded the whole thing, right?
It's still recording.
Technology, I love it.
All right.
Putting it to good use. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. And everybody take care and keep busy and keep making.
Thank you,
Keep creating.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for that great exhibition opportunity. Thank you a lot.
You're welcome. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.